Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Hi, Kelly.
Hello, Marsha. This is take
Hello
2.
again.
Yes, this is take 2. We started the last time and we talked for about 7 minutes, and I'm sitting here watching my screen as I'm talking, and it's just not registering that there is nothing recording. Like, okay. Marsha, we need to start over. Sorry.
Shall we tell people what we chit-chatted about?
Uh-huh. Yes, we'll do it. We'll do it
you had
again.
asked me. Yeah, we'll do it again. You had asked me about weather, if there's still snow here. And I said the snow is gone, but that I think the snow you were thinking about is the hike I did to Oyster Dome, which is just above Chuckanut Drive, which is, if anybody, probably people in Washington have done it, but if you're not from the area, if you ever have a chance to drive Chuckanut Drive, it runs from I think Bow, Washington, up to Bellingham along the coast. It's a very windy road and it's beautiful. And so Oyster Dome is above that. And the trail was very icy and snowy. So I think that's the snow you were thinking of.
Yeah.
And it was very cold. I have to say, even with the elevation gain, it was cold enough that I never got hot. Normally I do. Never got hot. And Enzo wore his Filson coat that my brother gave him years ago because it was cold to be outside. He's a pampered pooch, so he's not used to being out in that cold weather all day. So because we were out there maybe 3.5 hours, 4 hours, I think.
Wow.
The night before the hike, Ben stopped by, and he has done this hike a number of times. But he said because of the weather, he said I should bring my micro spikes, that attach to the bottom of my hiking boots, which I'm really glad I did because the trail was compact snow and ice the whole way. So, and I was telling you too, as we were passing, people were coming back down, they had started up, but they didn't have the right equipment and it wasn't safe. So they just turned around and were coming back because you really needed the micro spikes. But I was a little worried about the hike because it was cold. And actually, I forgot to tell you this, Kelly, it was actually snowing when I left Seattle.
Oh, okay.
To head up there.
And but it wasn't snowing
snow
there?
Flurries, yeah. So it actually stopped snowing and we had beautiful blue sky, but very cold. Mm-hmm. And then after the hike, we went back down to Chuckanut Drive and went to Taylor's Shellfish, which is where they have oysters. That's all they sell are oysters. So I had a plate of oysters. I had raw oysters. My friend had some that were baked, kind of like oysters Rockefeller, with breadcrumbs and stuff.
That
I don't
sounds
mind
good.
Raw oysters. I know it's not everybody's thing, but
yeah, I like them. Yeah. I prefer them cooked because it seems like with raw ones, like they're gone. You put them in your mouth and then they're gone. It's like, okay, I want to taste them a little bit more than that.
Yeah, they you just swallow them kind of.
Yeah.
Really. I don't know.
It feels kind of like what I say about the dogs. Did you even taste that?
Yeah, really? Yeah. It's funny. Anyway, but it was interesting. I can't remember now the two kinds I had. One was Kumamoto, I think, and the other one I don't remember the name of it. And the one that I can't remember the name of them were very briny, very salty. It was really interesting. And the other ones were kind of sweet slightly. It was interesting who knew that. It's surprising to me. You think an oyster is an oyster is an oyster, but I guess it's just like fish all has different tastes, right? Yeah. So oysters have different. Anyway, it was interesting.
That would be kind of fun to do an oyster tasting, kind of like wine tasting.
Well, you can. Yeah, you could go up there. If next time you come, we can go up there and you can do an oyster tasting because they have. I mean, there must have been 15 to 20 different types of oysters on the menu.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway.
Oh, fun.
But we'll stop talking about oysters in case there's any listeners that are just grossed out by the idea of oysters. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, good. That sounds like a nice thing to do on a winter day. Kind of a brave thing to do on a winter day. You mostly think about sitting inside with your knitting, and so that's.
Well, I will be honest. I cannot tell a lie on the podcast, Kelly. I was the night before. I got my stuff ready the night before, and I was thinking to myself, God, I hope she cancels. My friend cancels. And then the morning of the hike, we went on Friday. We went on Valentine's Day, the 14th, and that morning I was like, I hope she cancels. Just could not make. I really did not want to get out in the cold, and I'm not really a snow person. I mean, I like the snow, but I don't do winter sports really. I've never been very good at them. And then I was a little anxious too because my car is all-wheel drive, but I've not driven it in the snow before. Where my other car, was all-wheel drive, and I would take Ben. It's so old that I got it because I was taking Ben up to the pass for snowboarding, and but I haven't driven this one in the snow. And we did when you turn off the highway, then there's a lower parking lot where my friend, she left her car there because she has a Mini Cooper which is really low, and the road up had a lot of potholes, and but then it was covered with snow and ice, compact snow and ice. So when I got in the car and we started up, I just did the thing where I would kind of, to test it, I would sort of accelerate kind of a little fast just to see if the car slid, and brake kind of hard to see if it slid. I kind of tested, and it did well. It did pretty good, but it did fine. But I was nervous about that.
Yeah.
Just because I haven't driven. And honestly, if there's going to be a massive snowstorm on Interstate 5, I'm not going. Just to stay home. I don't want to get involved in that. But a little bit off the road is fine. But anyway. But also what we talked about before we realized the microphone was not on, your weekend, you were planning to go to a dog show.
Yeah. So I have a 4-day weekend this weekend, and I had planned to go, the Raisin Circuit, they call it, is in Fresno. Sunmade Kennel Club is the name of their kennel club. And so that's why it's kind of nicknamed the Raisin Circuit. And it has 3 shows, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Okay.
And so we had planned to go up on Thursday and, stay through Sunday and show Bailey 3 times. And hopefully, because if you qualify 3 times, you get your title. So hopefully get her rally title and her rally novice title, the first level. And then there were high wind advisories for Thursday when we were going to be leaving. We were going to take the trailer, and that is not a good mix. High wind advisories and flood, danger of flooding in certain places. Not necessarily where we were going. It was the wind that was more of a worry. And then, scheduled to be rainy there at least one day, pretty much all day. And the trailer, to sleep in the trailer while it's raining, Robert has trouble. He doesn't really like camping in pouring rain. It's okay if it's, just light rain, but pouring rain, it sounds like you're inside of a tin can, with rocks being thrown on it. So he doesn't sleep very well. And I mean, I have to say it is loud. The times that we've done it is loud. So anyway, we rethought our plans, and I had also found out that I got into the show on Friday and the show on Sunday, but the show on Saturday had filled up before my application, before my entry arrived, my postmark date. So I wasn't I wasn't even entered for Saturday. So we were only entered for 2 days, and we were, the wind and the rain and all that. And so we just decided to cancel. So I kind of had, it was a disappointment in one sense, but also kind of like found time. I wasn't going to be home. I wasn't going to be able to get stuff done. And so I got work stuff done, and I helped Elena with an application for a teaching job. And I went to dinner with friends on Sunday night, and I've been doing some knitting and some spinning and some weaving. And so anyway, I've had a really enjoyable weekend, even though we had kind of canceled plans, and that was kind of a disappointment.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But it's been beautiful all weekend too. That's the other thing. It's like, okay, where's all this rain that they said was coming? Now, I haven't looked at what the weather was like in the Central Valley in Fresno. Mm-hmm. They may still have had the rain that was predicted. But even so, that wind on Thursday would have been dangerous for taking the trailer across the pass, Pacheco Pass to the Central Valley. So anyway.
Yeah.
Change of plans, but it worked out okay.
Yeah. And you got to weave.
I did.
Or, well, okay.
Both.
That's a
weave
a
and warp.
Of.
Yes.
Shall we? Well, since you say that, do you want to talk about your project?
Sure.
Go first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll go first. Okay. So drum roll, please. I finished weaving the warp of the trailer curtains. So that fabric is off the loom. I do still have to wash it and cut it and sew the curtains. I will say that I misjudged on tying on your warp. So I was thinking that I was going to be able to weave like almost to the knots where I tied the new warp onto the old warp. But when I got to the point where the knots were really close to the heddles, I was at that point unable to get a shed. The plan for that last piece was to be a bathroom curtain. And I wasn't able to put the tabby hem on it because I ran out of warp that I could get a shed on. And so I had to stop. Yeah. I'm not sure about the length, if I'm going to have the length I want. I think I might now that it's off the loom and I look at it, but it won't. My plan was to have the Swedish lace and a tabby hem, and I don't think that's going to happen. So anyway, little bit of learning experience about tying on the warp. I had the mistaken assumption that I would be able to weave a lot further on the warp than I really was. So that was unfortunate. But the fabric is off the loom. I have the fabric for front curtains, passenger side curtains, driver side curtains for sure, and then a panel that I might be able to use for the bathroom curtains. So, and if I can't use it for the bathroom curtains, that's okay. Right now we have a different curtain in there that I like. I was just thinking, well, if I'm making curtains for everything else, I might as well make something for that bathroom instead of use, the curtain that's in there. So we have my aunt's old house as a rental. And one of the times that tenants moved out and we were cleaning it up, I noticed they had curtains in the garage window. So there's the regular garage door that lifts up and the car drives in, but there's also a door that humans go in and out of into the garage. And that door from the garage to the outside has a window in it. And they had these really cute curtains in that window. And so when we were cleaning out the house, I took the curtains home, washed them up, and put them away. And I thought, this is really cute fabric. And then I had them in a window. I had them in the I think it was the vanity in the spare room is where I had them up. For a while, I had them there, and I moved them into the trailer because, the one place you do need curtains is the bathroom.
Right.
And so while we didn't have any curtains for our first, little while in the trailer, we did have curtains in the bathroom from the very beginning because I brought those to use. And I really like them. But I had thought, I'll make some. So anyway, long story longer, I am done weaving on trailer curtains. So that was very exciting. The other exciting thing, well, actually 3 exciting things. The other exciting thing is I'm back to knitting on Graphito. And I'm measuring it up against the Rachel sweater, the green striped sweater that I have, which is a little bit longer than Graphito is designed to be. So I did the last double tuck row. I think the last episode I talked about how I had done the last double tuck row and drop stitches. Well, I picked them up, I ripped back, I started over, and now I'm, I don't know, maybe 3 inches past that. And I have a little ways to go before I start the ribbing. Because I'm putting in a little bit of extra length. But just stocking it in the round, and that's what I'm doing right now. I did remember that if I'm going to make a sweater go that low, over my hips, I need to put some shaping in it. So I added some increases to the sides, just to give a little extra width on the bottom. So, So that's where I am on Graphito, which is really exciting. Not as exciting as the last part, as the first part, but still good. And then the last part of my projects, my only 3 things to talk about, is I started today winding a new warp. I thought, I don't know what I want to do next. I was talking to Robert, and I said, I think I want to make that chenille, do the chenille rug. And so I was talking about that this morning, and I was looking through handwoven at that project. And then I got up and I started actually warping. I'm like, I'm warping dish towels. He's like, wait, I thought you were going to make the chenille rug. And I said, well, that takes some planning, and warping for dish towels takes a lot less planning. And also, I don't know what I'm going to put on the loom next, right? Just having the warp ready. I might do the chenille rug next, but I have a warp ready for dish towels. So, and then can I ask you, this warp that you're winding, are you going to put it on the new loom? No. Is that the plan? No. The new loom isn't ready. I have to, I decided I am going to get an apron for the front to replace the apron that was there that I took off. And then I looked at my nylus loom and figured out how, because it does not have a back apron, it just has cord. And so I looked at that, and I'm going to put cords on the back beam. The new to me loom is going to have cords instead of a back apron. But I did decide, I looked at it, talked to Robert, looked at my other loom, and I decided I think I would like to have the cloth apron on the front beam of this loom. And I removed the one that was there. It was really pretty dirty. And so I removed it, and I'm just going to I'll just buy an apron to replace it. So, and it just staples on with a staple gun. So that loom is going to take a little while. I'm going to, I have to clean the heddles. There's rust on the heddles. So I'm going to take those off and, clean those up. And I need to clean up the reed because it has a little rust on it too. So I'll do that. But meanwhile, I have a project Well, you know what? Who knows? This warp that I'm winding, I don't know when it's going to go on the loom. So it might go on the big loom, the bigger loom. I don't know. I am winding to do the weave structure M's and O's, which I've not done before. The structure that I'm doing is a 16 thread repeat, or like a 16 thread block. So I have, I think 29, the width I wanted to do. It turned out that there will be 29 of these blocks. An odd number, so it's symmetrical. So there's like block A and block B, and they look different. One looks like an M and the other one looks like an O. And so whichever one it starts off with, I don't know if it starts off with an M or an O, I don't remember. But whichever one it starts off with, it'll end on the other side with that same one because it's an odd number of these blocks. Does that make sense? We'll go M, O.
Yes, it does.
And then it'll end with an M.
Oh. Okay. Oh, I'm looking at it. I just Googled it.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking at the images of it.
Yeah, so it has a 16 thread structure. The one I'm doing has a 16 thread block.
Okay.
And so what I'm doing is for each 16 threads, I'm grabbing a different color.
Okay.
So I have yellow, pale yellow, and relatively thin. Thinner than my normal cotton dishcloth warp. So the pale yellow is going to be every other thread. So I'm winding with the pale yellow and another color. So 2 at a time.
Okay.
So the pale yellow will go throughout. It'll be every other thread. And then I'm doing like really light green, a little darker green, a turquoise, a darker turquoise, kind of gradient-y. And then I have, and then every 4, so each 16 is a color along with the yellow. And then every 4 colors, I'm putting in either a bright yellow or a bright orange group of 16. So a little contrast to go in between the gradients of like, it's basically turquoisey blues and different shades of green. Using up cones of leftover stuff and this cone of yellow that I don't know why I ever bought it, because yellow, as you know, is not my favorite color.
That's not your color. Yeah.
It's not my color.
Yeah.
So, I've had this 2 pound, I think it's like a 2 pound cone of yellow. So a way to use it up, but also it feels really spring-like. I mean, it just looks like these will be Easter towels. If I can get them on the loom soon enough and get them done, they would be great as Easter towels. So nice and springy. Greens and blues. And then the yellow and orange as accent colors.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
It'll be pretty.
Yeah, I'm almost done. I got a little bit further than halfway before I took a break so we could record. So, and that's it.
Okay.
That's the extent of my projects. Right. I did a little bit of spinning. I have some Tunis roving that I had hanging around. So I spun that all up. I guess I should put that I should count that as a project. I spun up about 5 ounces of Tunis roving.
Okay.
But
all right. Well, so is that it for your projects?
That's it.
All right. Well, I will update. I have a finished project, Kelly.
You do?
I have won the non-race, non-competition that we were at. So I finished the Graphito.
Yay!
And I washed and blocked it, and I wore it the other day.
All right.
It turned out great. I really didn't make any changes. I didn't make any changes to the length. And it fits, I think it fits great. I do realize, though, I noticed this when I was making it, that in the yoke, that 1 inch section of brioche, I've done something so in the front, like kind of in the front, you can see that the contrasting color doesn't go all the way. It makes those vertical stripes. And so I realize I have to just take some of the contrasting yarn and do some, what do you call that, over?
Like a duplicate stitch?
Duplicate stitch or something on it to make it look so it blends in. But that's it. It's very minor. So anyway, and I have to say too, I didn't realize, Kelly, until you posted a picture, I think on Instagram, or did you send me the picture? I did not realize how similar our colors are.
Yeah.
Why did you let me buy that wallet?
Because you said but I really like this blue, but that's the color that you have. I'm like, Marsha,
right.
How often are we together? It's not going to matter. You could have the exact same sweater as mine and it wouldn't matter.
Yeah.
But I do think you need to bring it down, and we need to wear them at knockers together, the same. Yeah,
I'll bring it down. Same. But I was like, wow, they're so similar. I will say your contrasting color is really bright and multicolored, and mine is it's just soft pink kind of. That part's different, but overall they look a lot alike.
They look a lot alike because the blue, the base color is the same.
I just didn't realize it.
Well, it doesn't bother me. But
I do remember, as I'm trying to think back in Walla Walla when we were looking at that yarn. I remember I was looking at another color, was it? And I think we just didn't like it with the blue as much, I guess. Was I looking at a gold or something?
I think so. Well, and you were looking at a different base color too. And you just kept going back to the blue. And I do remember you saying, but yours is blue. And I was like, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, I remember that whole discussion, but it's like, wow, they look a lot alike. But anyway, to your point, well, most of the time we'll never be wearing them together unless it's intentional. When I bring it, I'll bring it to knockers. But anyway,
we can be Graphito twins.
Yeah, really. Okay, and so then I have to give an update on the weaving. So I had big plans to weave this weekend, but as always happens with me, didn't get anything done on the weaving this weekend. I went down and did a little bit, I think, on Saturday.
Yeah, because you sent me a picture one of the days of the weekend. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was Friday. But one of the days that I've been home doing something, you did send me a picture of what you had been doing.
Yeah, maybe I did on Saturday. I did a little bit of weaving. Anyway, but I have to say on Saturday, this is not about my project necessarily, but I just thought it was so much fun. So Saturday, Ben showed up at the house, and I don't know if I've mentioned this in the podcast, but he had bought a truck, and he'd only had it maybe 6 weeks when the motor blew up, and he lost it's dead in the water. So he bought a new truck, the same model and year. It took him a long time to come to this decision, but he finally decided just to get the same truck, and he's now taking everything off the truck that blew up. He's taking everything off, the canopy and the rack that he bought for it, and the tires, because he got new tires and new hoses, and he did some work. He put a new suspension under it, everything. So he's taking all that off. So every weekend he comes by and does more stuff to it, because the dead truck is sitting in my driveway and back, and he's working on it. But anyway, he came by Saturday to work on the truck, and make a long story short, one of his roommates, housemates Genki came by, and he was out working on his bicycle, and they came in to get tea. Because I made a pot of tea. They came in to each have a mug of tea. Ben went out to the garage, but Genki sat at the kitchen table and talked to me. And we had a nice conversation, and then it came up, I don't even remember how, but it came up about weaving, and he wanted to go see the loom. And we were down in the weaving studio for over an hour. Because and this is what I kind of discover about these maybe all men, young men, or just people in general. Men in particular, I think they're fascinated by the mechanics of the spinning wheel, and they're fascinated by the mechanics of the loom. And Genki's undergraduate degree is computer science, and he's now he's working full time, but he's also in the master's program at the University of Washington to get his master's in electrical engineering. So, as we all know, the early computers are sort of, the idea is like weaving, right?
Yeah.
Zeros and ones, and on and off, and up and down, kind of that whole concept. So he immediately understood that and was really fascinated by how this all worked. And I could just tell, how, Kelly, you can just tell he wants to touch it and he wants to weave. So I had it set up. I'm about ready to start my fourth and last towel. So I just had him do, because I've not changed the tie-up for the fourth towel. So I said, just do plain weave. That's really easy. So he just did he did 1.5 inches or so of
nice
plain weave. And God, he was so excited. And so he said, well, when you warp it again, I want to come back and see how you do the patterning. So I said, I'll just text you when I have it done. You can come by and look at it if you want. Anyway, just really cute. I enjoyed that. It was fun. Anyway, so as I said, I have to change the tie up, and then I'm going to start my fourth and last towel. And I think the last episode, I was talking about that fourth towel. It's probably not going to be very big. It might be square, and I'll use it in the bread basket. I don't think that's true. I think it's going to be longer than I think.
Oh, that's good.
I think it'll be more. I think, yeah. So we'll see. But it does depend, like your point, you can't weave all the way up to where it's tied because of the shed, right? I may not. I'll have to figure it out.
Well, and in your case, you have the loom waist, right? That whole section of loom waist.
Yeah.
The bar or the rod that you are tied onto is only going to come up so close to the heddles, and the closer
exactly,
and like in my case, the closer it gets, the harder it is to get a shed. But you'll get more out of yours than I was able to get out of mine because you won't have the tangling of all those knots to worry about.
Yeah.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah. So, and then I have another project I'll talk about. But before I mention that, I just want to go back and talk about the weaving studio, because I'm putting this in the category of the weaving studio. So I've not done anything about cleaning up that room and getting rid of the junk that's down there. I still need to do that. But I added more stuff to the room. So,
okay.
So, do you remember I mentioned this, I think, in one of our episodes, that I put a want ad in the classified ads of the Seattle Weavers Guild. And someone reached out to me that they were willing to part with their loom bench. And I also I asked for shuttles for weaving rag rugs. And so a weaver reached out to me, and I went to her house on Thursday, and I got the loom bench. And it's the same brand as my loom, Leclerc. Kelly, Leclerc or Leclerc? How is it pronounced?
I pronounce it Leclerc.
Leclerc?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, it's the same brand, and it's not as high as the stool I've been using. It's a little lower than that, but definitely higher than the loom bench that Kim and I had borrowed when we first started weaving, because she took that bench. And because it fits, her loom is quite low, and she's shorter than I am. So anyway, I'm thrilled. I got the loom bench, and it fits perfectly. And, of course, it's better than a stool because you can kind of slide back and forth on it if you need to. And it's got the seat lifts up, so there's storage. And then it has the 2 storage areas on the side where I can put scissors and
your tape measure.
Tape measure. So So I'm excited about that, and I'm really pleased. She's downsizing. She and her husband are looking to move into some sort of retirement community, so she's downsizing. So she was happy to find a home, and I was happy to provide the home. So I'm excited about that. And then the only other project I have to report on, I'm sitting here working on it right now, is I did cast on The Weekender by Andrea Mowry, and I'm using Cascade 220 and the colorway Wine. And I want to say something about this yarn too, because if I look at it in the light, I think it's one of the heathers, because there's like little flecks of I can see little flecks of red and green in here and blue.
Yeah. I made a coat, a felted coat with that colorway, the heathered version of the
I remember
color.
that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's nice. It's a nice color.
So, and I got this yarn off of eBay years ago. I think I paid like $25 for, I think I have 11 skeins or something. I have a lot. Anyway, but always everything is, it just never can be as simple as casting on. So the pattern, so many people have made this pattern. Everybody knows what I'm talking about, but it does say to use number 9 needles, way too big. I was getting 4 stitches to the inch, and I'm supposed to have, I believe, I can't remember now what my gauge is supposed to be, but anyway, I've gone down to a size 8. And it's still a bit, I'm still not getting gauge. So I'm making the size 2 because I'm getting a half a stitch extra per inch. So I think you and Kelly, I use, we had I think we had a conversation on the phone about this, and I also talked to Kim about it too. So I'm taking the smaller size, and I think that will give me the 10 inches of positive ease that's recommended by the designer. The only thing is I haven't done it yet, but I have to measure my row gauge, because I think sometimes when you make the smaller size, even though it's going to fit in terms of the circumference around the bust, when you make the smaller size, sometimes I think the armholes get shorter. Yeah. And some things can be a little wonky, so you have to be really careful. So it's not like it's not a huge difference, but it's a significant. So anyway, it's going to be, I just said, fingers crossed. Yeah. And the other thing,
you've done that kind of thing before.
Yeah.
So it's not like, yeah, it'll work, I think. I mean, you just know to be cautious about the row gauge.
Yeah. 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 And Kelly, what I was going to say? I was going to say, I think it'll be okay.
Oh, yeah. No, don't say that. Don't say that. The curse.
But I will say, and as people who've made this pattern know, that you do a tubular cast on. And so I went and I watched, Stephen West has a good tutorial on YouTube. So you cast on the front or the back first and knit 2 1/4 inches. And then you do the same thing for the front and knit it 1.5 inches. And, but this pattern, you have to be careful because it's knit inside out. So you're knitting on the inside of the sweater. And then, so it'll show a purl side
as reverse
on the outside of the sweater.
Yeah.
And then, but the thing I was going to say with the tubular cast on, I'm short 3 stitches on the back. And I thought, you know what? I'm not going to, did it twice and I'm off. And I thought, I'm not going to worry about it. This is probably not cool, but I just thought, just add 3 more stitches when I get to the stockinette part. I don't think it's going to make that big a deal. And then, but then this morning, because I wanted to get going on this so I could knit on it while we talk and not be fiddling with a tubular cast on, I did the tubular cast on. You're supposed to have 99 stitches. I had 120. Now, what did I do?
Oh my gosh.
It's so funny. And I thought of you and that last episode. It's like,
Counting.
To cut your losses and just rip it out.
Yeah.
Counting, man, and just rip it out. There's no way you can save that if you're over on. So I just ripped it out and I redid it. Anyway, I'm back on track, but it's so funny. Counting. Who knew that counting can be so hard?
I know. Ugh.
Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Well, that's it for me for projects. I don't have anything else to report on. Well, I still have socks I'm working on, and I still have the Ames Beanie, but we're not going to talk about those because there's been no progress, we won't waste time on that.
Yeah. Well, I did talk already a little bit about you because you asked the question about the loom that is being, that I'm getting ready to weave on, the new to me loom, and I am pretty sure the more I've now washed the whole thing. And so I've been pretty much over every inch. So the only thing is there might be something on the bottom of it that would tell me, a maker's mark or something. I haven't tipped it sideways. I'll have to get Robert to help me tip it over so I can look at the bottom of it to see. But other than that, there is no mark on it that would indicate that it's, a type of loom. But it is very much like the Maycomber in the garage in terms of the treadling system. Very similar. It looks like it's, that maybe it was rebuilt using the treadles from that type of loom. And I'm, getting my list together of what I need to buy, which is not much, just the apron that I took off, the Texolve cord that I'm going to use for the back beam. I'm going to drill. It doesn't have holes drilled in it because it looks like it had an apron on the back beam too. But I think I'm going to drill holes through it for the cords to go through, the Texolve cords to go through. And I'm just going to use the cords similar to what the loom I have has. So it won't have an apron on both front and back. It'll just have the front apron. I was thinking about using cords for the front, but I decided this morning to just get an apron. I think I did mention that. So I'm moving along on that project. While I was doing that project, I'll just tell you, I was, looking at looms and numbers and serial numbers and stuff. And so I found this, and I was cleaning up my loom after I got the curtains off, the curtains off the loom. I was cleaning up my loom, vacuuming it and cleaning it up and stuff. And thought, I wonder where its serial number is. So I found the little tag with its serial number. And then I went to go look it up and I discovered, so I've always thought that I had a Leclerc was the brand and Nihilus was the model. But apparently at some point, Leclerc was known as Leclerc Nihilus. That was the brand name. So the loom I have is actually called an Artisat, and it's from 1975. So I have a 50-year-old. So the loom I've been weaving on for years is a 50-year-old Leclerc Artisat. And I just now, I never looked for the serial number before. I'm sure I saw it. It just didn't register in my mind that that it was there. But so I found the serial number and looked it up and found out when it was made and all that, which is kind of cool. So I have a question about your loom because, I was just gonna say about my loom. I know it's Leclerc, but it has a number on it, but I can't quite make it out. It's the tag. It's like a little metal, like a little metal sticker.
Or is it like a sticker?
Like
yeah,
a foil
and it's
sticker.
kind of damaged. Yeah, like a foil sticker, and it's kind of damaged. I'll have to go down there and look at it again and see if I can make out the numbers again.
The first letter is what will tell you what model it is.
Okay.
So if you can make out the letter, that's the first part of the serial number.
The letter, okay. Okay. But what I wanted to ask you about your loom, because you've not had it since 1975.
No.
You didn't buy a new.
Yeah.
Where I don't even remember where you got that loom.
I bought it from someone I didn't know who sent word to our weaving class that she had a loom for sale.
Oh, okay.
And she lived out in San Venancio. And her loom was up the loom was up in her, I don't know if it was second story or third story, like attic room.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like I don't think it was a spiral staircase, but it was tight turns. It might have been more square than a spiral staircase, but it was a little tiny staircase. And so we had to get it out. And I don't remember if she told us that that's the way she got it in there too. But to get it out, we had to strap it up and hang it out the window.
Oh.
So, Robert and our neighbors, but we all went over there, and then her husband and Robert and Chuck kind of strapped it all up and then lifted it out the window and then hung it down into their yard.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
precarious.
Mm-hmm, It was quite the thing. But she was the one that told me that she wished she had started weaving before she retired. That she didn't start weaving until she had retired, and she wished she had started sooner because she just didn't have the physical ability to continue weaving anymore. This was back in. Yeah. It was before. Let's see. It was probably around maybe 2002, something like that when I got it. So,
well, this woman who sold me the loom bench, we were talking about, she used to have 3 looms, but she sold one and she's now down to 2. And anyway, I was saying it'd be kind of interesting to, when you get a loom, and you decide to get rid of the loom, you should put your name on it and the date, like the date you get it and the date you get rid of it, and then the next person who gets it
do the same. Yeah.
So I'm assuming the woman you got the loom from, she probably bought it new, or did she get it from somebody?
I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember.
So. You know how years ago, libraries are not like this, but you're in the school library or your textbook.
Oh, yeah. You could see who checked it out.
Had the person's name. You could see everybody who had that textbook or everybody who had checked out that book. I think that's what we should do with this equipment is you just permanent marker, you write your name on it or you carve it in there before you pass it on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we can follow its history.
Yeah. I mean, she might have had it since 1975, but I'm thinking probably not, because that would have been over 20 years. Yeah, maybe almost 30, not quite 30 years of weaving after her retirement. I don't think she was that old. Yeah, I mean, she was older. She was an older woman, but in those days, older could have been my age.
I was going to say, she probably was 55.
Yeah.
He thought she was old. Yeah. As we get older, it seems like, being in your 70s is not that old anymore,
Yeah. Well, anyway. Yes. And I'll just say, this has nothing to do at all with weaving, but Robert dragged me to a Medicare information session.
You don't want to go to that.
Last week I went. He brought me because he wanted to make sure that he was, doing everything right because he's eligible for Medicare on this upcoming birthday. He's still covered by my insurance, but he wanted to make sure he didn't miss, something he was supposed to do.
Yeah, it is a little complicated, and you can, like Social Security, once you make your decision, you can't change it. And the same thing with Medicare. I mean, I think maybe you can change it, but there's some things like
she said.
Remember, like
she said you should actually go in for like a tune-up every year.
Well, but I know one thing I remember is because the insurance, the medical group that I go to, they cover prescription costs. But that part, whichever part the number is, as I recall. Maybe I'm wrong on this, but as I recall, if your health insurance did not provide prescription coverage, you bought this other part, D maybe, for drugs. I don't know, whatever part that was. But if you did not sign up for it, and you went and signed up for later, say maybe 2 years later, you had to not only did you have to pay the amount that you should have paid when you signed up for it, but you pay that the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You
there's
can't like make up that payment. Yeah.
There's penalties.
So,
but anyway, we did go. I felt like there was no way that I should be going into a building called the Alliance on Aging. But I read another thing somewhere that talked about anti-aging and like, who's anti-aging? Like, why would you what does it mean if you're anti-aging? You're pro-death? Like, so okay. Better to be going to the Alliance on Aging than the alternative.
Right. And I will say, I mean, it is true. Once you go and you get it all set up, then you don't have to really think about it again.
Well, but that's not what she said, which I thought was very interesting. I mean, Robert doesn't have to worry about it until I retire because he has coverage. He has coverage from my employer. So that was an important thing that he wanted to make sure of. But yeah, there were several times during the presentation where she said, you really should come in every year and get this checked to make sure that you have the best price, or to make sure you still want this type of coverage, or if this is still the right decision. And I was really impressed. For people in California, I don't know what organization it would be in another state. But for people in California, the Alliance on Aging, they have Medicare counselors, and truly you can go in and have a personalized appointment. She was having people who were in the session make appointments to come in and get their plan checked up and figure out if they were doing the right, the best thing for them, depending on their goals. And anyway, I thought it was very informative, even though it was very painful to know that I was at the age where I should be doing this. Painful yet informative.
Yeah, well, that's how it works.
Exactly. So I'm not sure how we got on that subject from where we were before. Oh, we were talking about the loom and how long people have had their looms. Yeah, it would be nice to have a little record of who, and I don't remember her name, or I would put her name on it. When I put my name on it, I don't remember what her name was. So, but anyway, it's been a great loom. I really enjoyed it.
I would say, Kelly, the new loom, you could go write Terry's name on it.
Yes, I could.
And then before Terry say the streets of Berkeley.
That's right. That's what I should do. Yeah. And I am going to finish it, finish it. I don't know. It doesn't look like it ever had a finish on it. So maybe it was just waxed or something. But I am going to do that. So, I have some work ahead of me to just get it to look nice, and also to be cleaned up and ready to weave. It needs a few parts and a little TLC, but I think it's in good shape. I am pretty sure that I'm going to have a very workable loom, and I think the back hinge treadles are going to be interesting. To feel the what's the difference between treadling on back hinge treadles versus front hinge treadles that I have on my loom. Yeah. I want to ask you one last thing. I meant to ask you this earlier when you were talking about there's no name on the new loom. Do pretty much, I would imagine all loom manufacturers would put their name on a loom. Yeah. Right? Yeah, there would be something. So the fact, so the idea that it doesn't have what you were talking about in the other episode, you think it's handmade, but because it's, or not handmade, handmade, it is handmade, but home built is the word you use. Yeah. Because all loom manufacturers would probably put the name on the loom, so it seems sort of odd that
unless it was a tag that came off somehow.
Yeah, I guess that's possible, but I haven't found anything that looks like it. And I've done quite a bit of searching since I brought it home, and kind of analyzing the parts, the fact that it has a ratchet brake instead of a tension brake or friction brake like our other one, the ones that we have. And looking for, what looms have ratchet brakes and what looms have back hinge treadles, and looking at pictures of them all and not finding anything that looks like this. So I do think I do think someone built it out of parts, using parts from probably from a Maycomber. So. But as I work with it, maybe I'll find out more.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. All right. Well,
that's all for me.
We just have to mention. That's all for me in terms of project. I think we just have to mention that we say this every episode, but the Winter Weave Along is going on until March 31st, and then we still have on here, Kelly, the 2025 challenge thread. Yeah. Do we want to talk about that at all?
That'll just stay up if anybody has, if anybody is doing a challenge for this year and they want to add it to the thread, feel free.
Okay. Well, and the last thing I'm going to say is I am headed out of town on Thursday, the 20th. Kim and I are going down to the Oregon coast for, I think it's 4 nights. But the reason I bring this up, because there'll be a lot of, I'm not going to bring my spinning. That's not really enough room in the car for 2 dogs and their stuff and our stuff. So I'm not going to, neither one of us are bringing our spinning wheels, but I'll be knitting. But the reason I bring this up is we're stopping in Eugene, Oregon at Eugene Textile Center.
That'll be fun.
So I'm going to do a little, I know. I'm going to do a little snooping. And reconnaissance down there.
You won't have room. You won't have room for much, but
no, because I guess that's a good thing.
Yes,
but I think the only thing that she is going to buy, I think she's planning on buying one down there. I'm not sure about that, but I made a rattle for the loom, and the leftover wood, I think I gave it to Ben, so it's gone, so I can't make her a rattle. And but we've just been sharing that. But it's a little, her weaving width, I think, is 24 inches. And so the rattle's just a bit too cumbersome for leaving on the loom for any length of time while she's warping. Yeah. So I think she just wants to get her own. And I did ask, in my want ad for the Saddle Weavers Guild, I had asked for a rattle to see if we could find one for her, but there was no response. So I think she's planning on buying a rattle down there. Hopefully we get I might have to hold the rattle on my lap or hold the dog on my lap to get home. But anyway, but it'll be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. Because I've been in the booth of Eugene Textiles at Black Sheep, and I think they were at Red Alder, but I've not actually been to the actual store, and apparently it's quite a big space. So I'm interested in checking that out. So
yeah, that'll be fun.
I'll report in.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Well, I think we'll say goodbye, and I'll let you get back to your day off, your last day before you go back.
All right. Thank you.
All righty.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2 U's
doing our part for World Fleece.